It's been said the whole world is a stage and everybody plays a part. But the question remains, who's writing the script?
And I learned racism very young at the second grade.
To kill 3 spirits of innocence unremorsefully with no consequence for the simple fact they were Muslim. I am tired.
So these behaviors, we're teaching it and we're continuing it.
Welcome to Around the Fire.
Hi, welcome to Around the Fire special presentation, State of Our Union. Today, my special guest is a poignant and passionate spoken word artist. People, meet Shafina Ahmed. Shafina, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, Frank. It is such a pleasure. It is such a pleasure. Shafina,
yes.
Before we get into your work, let's give the viewer a little bit of background information about who Shafina is.
Sure.
Shafina, how did you get into spoken word?
It's a funny story, actually. You'll be surprised. I love telling this story. Last March, 2014, I quit smoking cigarettes.
Okay.
And I had smoked cigarettes for about 13 years. And something said, you gotta quit. You gotta quit. Lucky number 13, you gotta quit.
Okay.
And I quit cold turkey. One night I was having an awful craving. It was just eating at me, and I suddenly picked up the pen and I just started writing. And I just started writing, and a poem came out of it. And I read it and I was like, oh, this is actually pretty good. Wow. And I found an open mic urban juke joint in Manhattan, and I went and I performed it there, and I got bit. And just being inspired by the other writers and the poets there and listening to them spit and seeing their perspectives, I just started writing poetry. And the funny thing is, I used to hate poetry before. Wow. I absolutely hated poetry. But it's something that I live by now. And it changed. It became my new addiction. So I gave up nicotine, and poetry literally saved my life.
Isn't that something?
And it really has changed. And I'm so grateful that I quit smoking.
You did a performance a while ago, and we are going to be gifted, viewers, with it now. Miss Shafina Ahmed's I Am Tired.
I am tired of stitching into my skin a white flag declaration proving my innocence, tattooing my flesh with the American Constitution, pledging my allegiance on a Bible filled with a hypocritical political pretense, upholding my solemn oath. I swear I come in peace, hoping I will not be automatically indicted by a jury of blatant ignorance, guilty by religion. For the simple fact, I am Muslim. I am tired of my birth religion minimizing to a punchline as a new target of a wigless joking, of hearing the phrase gentrification as a neighborhood's rejuvenation, while seeing a Muslim community's ethnic elimination of all the time open season. Muslims and brownskins of being a terrorist before and after I walk through the door, prostrating myself in a constant position of a default apology, holding my hands up. Oh, Saab, I am so very, very sorry for all the deaths from terrorist killings. For the simple fact, I am Muslim. I am tired of the mere sound of my name, Shafina Ahmed, curdling smiles as my American-born citizenship is microchipped into downloadable public access world files, my civil liberties profiled at the click of a button for free at Amazon.com. My freedom at the bottom of the page, exquisitely divisible, a fine print Patriot Act exclusion, stamped with congressional approval, waiting for my inevitable exile at the end of someone's eager rifle for the simple fact I am Muslim. I am tired of bearing witness to murders justified, rationalized, minimized, dehumanized into lack of evidence, transformed into acceptable media explanations of this. This was just a squabble over parking spaces. Declarations of this had nothing to do with issues of Muslim races. The execution-style assassinations of Dia, Yasur, Razman in the safety of their Chapel Hill home, forced down onto their knees, lined up like dogs, hand behind their backs, bound, repeatedly shot in the backs of their head, point blank, bam, bam, bam. Blood-soaked kitchen tiles, cradling the bodies of newlyweds, Dia and Yasur, never to see the photos of their wedding day. Razman, 19 years young. 19 years young, never to see the light of her college graduation day. All because a racist, a gun-tuned extremist, a self-proclaimed atheist, an American sniper, Caucasian, legalized terrorist believed wholeheartedly it was his God-given right to act accordingly, to kill 3 spirits of innocence unremorsefully with no consequence for the simple fact they were Muslim. I am tired of bearing the burden of possibility. I could one day be this exact same story. A disposable victim of a religious bigotry. A life expired at the hands of a fear-filled insecurity, putting a gun to my head. Putting a gun to my family's head. Chanting, your lives never mattered. Your lives never mattered. A blessing, killing us all dead, and the warmth of our beds for the simple fact we are Muslim. I am tired. I am so tired. I am so very scared and tired.
Wow, Shafina, that was a powerful piece. And you know, the first thought I came away with after watching it is it must be hell to live under such stress just because of your religious identification.
It is, and it's like I was saying earlier, just a different face of racism.
Yes.
You know, you have experienced the same racism.
Yes.
Just because of your color. You know, or you're a man. There's a sexism to that as well.
Right.
You know, racism, and I've said it over and over again, as the older I get, I'm just seeing it take on a different face. It's the same root cause, fear, insecurity, and not knowing what this race or religion is. But unfortunately, this has to happen for us to have an understanding of right and wrong.
Okay. Okay. Yes. Everything has its reason. Yes.
The excessivity of it and the aggressivity of it, it's unnecessary. But unfortunately, this is what happens as we become a more heterogeneous and interracial species, that you're going to see all these aggressive levels of racism occur because people are just scared.
True. And I think what they're scared of is their identity changing, because we hold on to that as a form of security in knowing or thinking we know who we are.
Yes.
You know, and since that's generational, it's a tough nut to crack. But like you said, it's part of, I guess, a journey, a flow, a something. We have to have these things happen, hopefully to spark a yearning.
Yes.
For true change, you know, where we can start to see through a different lens and see each other and with a more, I guess you would say, a more common understanding or commonality between us, which is human, the common denominator, you know. And in that piece, I mean, you portrayed the murder, the innocent murder of a family in Chapel Hill, and the way that you were saying that the assassin came in and without conscience, the strength of beliefs can numb you to your humanity. That's scary.
Yes, that is what moved me the most when that whole case happened, that knowing that these 3 innocent students were sitting in their home and this man broke into their home with a rifle and lined them up in the kitchen. And they were 22 years old, 21 years old, and 19. And one was a couple. And to assassinate them just because of a religion, you know, just because of a faith. You have to be so far gone or so just, you need help to understand right and wrong. And to kill these 3 innocent children. You know, as a parent, to send your child to college and then to get a phone call, they're dead. It's heartbreaking. This can happen to me and my family. Anybody can break into my house and kill me in my bed and kill my parents. Anybody can break into my brother's home, or on the street they can see my brother and they can attack him or push him into the train. Just because there's this fear that, oh, Muslims, they're all terrorists. And it's just heartbreaking because you're already counting 1 billion people in the world that are Muslim, and you're saying all of us by default are evil. Really?
I hear you on that. No, but I hear you on that, and that is because of the information that has been disseminated and the way that it's being related, because they're generalizing like they did with, you know, racism against the black race. All of us were of a certain quality when it's not true. You know, and then again, I don't get the fact that you need to feel better than or superior to. What is that saying about you then? Because that, on the 180 of that, there's something else going on. Like you said, the fear and the insecurity is driving that behavior. But in order to, I guess, transcend it, you take on this persona, you know, where you feel that your identification, because it's one that has been not dehumanized, so gives you the right. And that, to me, bullshit.
I second that notion.
You know, seriously.
No, it's true. It's true. And what's really also really scary, and if you go even further, I mean, this racism is taught. It's a learned behavior. When we're babies, we're not taught.
Thank you.
We do understand colors and different moves and waves and colors and patterns as babies. But we don't say, well, this color is bad, that color is bad. I'm going to go for the red squishy toy truck because red is good as opposed to the green. We're taught these behaviors. And that's what's really scary, because I was taught racism at a young age because I was in Catholic school, and the nun specifically targeted me because I was the only child of color in the classroom. And so I always got hit, I always got beat, I always got the punishment. And I learned racism very young at the 2nd grade. And I remember she telling me that because you're of a different color, you're going to get treated different. Because you're Muslim, you're going to get treated different. And from that age, I learned very quickly, I'm already different and not a good different. My different is not going to be appreciated and accepted, therefore I have to be part of the masses. And that's the problem, is that we're teaching racism to our children in very subtle ways. And we're telling them that you're different is not the kind of different we want. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I hear
we
you.
want your different in this kind of boxed in creativity. Color in the lines, don't think out of the box. And certain things told to me because of my race and religion, it's also, here's the glass ceiling, this is your limit. But for people who aren't Muslim or your color, there's no ceiling or limit for them. So these behaviors, we're teaching it and we're continuing it. If as adults, we're on that side of let me pick up a rifle and kill this Muslim person because they're Muslim, we've allowed it to infest us.
Yes.
And now we're projecting that sickness onto other people.
Yes.
And with that poem, that's what it is. Your sickness, if you don't control it, will then be infected upon me. And then a germ spreads very quickly. That racism spreads very quickly. That's why we need to be more introspective and say, wait, what's wrong with me? Why do I have an issue with this person? Is it really an issue with them or is it an issue with me? And go backwards and figure it out and open the dialogue and say, wait, I don't understand you because X, Y, and Z. Not, I'm not gonna like you because I just don't understand you. It shuts down the conversation, and that's what creates war. Lack of conversation.
Definitely,
Right.
definitely. And it's also, again, like you said, the conditioning
Yes.
that produces the behavior. You know, and this is where I believe we fall short because we're taught what to think and not how to think.
Yes.
Which is so key. If we were taught how to think, then it might be a different experience because then we would examine the information that we're being, you know, told
Yeah.
and maybe have a critical eye on it and say, well, wait a minute. You know, and that's what we really need to do.
Yeah.
Pump the brakes.
Yes.
Just pump the brakes a minute. Wait.
Yeah. And just talk. Just talk. Just come together, talk. Let me hear what your point of view,
Yes.
hear my point of view.
Yes.
And if we still can't come to an agreement, at least we try to find a way.
Yes.
And let's leave it at that.
Okay.
You know?
That's approachable. Yeah. And it's not about threatening you in any way. It's just trying to open up a dialogue to understand why this difference is producing this
Right.
result.
Right. Right.
You
A lot
know?
of people don't talk enough. And I know people say talking is overrated, but why are we different from animals? We have higher level cognitive thinking.
Yes.
To talk, to communicate, to progress, to create, to inspire, to uplift, to elevate. Yes, to create war to some degree, but to also create peace. That's why we're different from animals.
Okay.
Animals, they have basic functions.
But let me say something about animals because we could learn a lot about their
Yes.
simplified existence.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
we do have the ability to process information and produce a result. I think without the element of critical thought,
Right.
we become almost puppet-like in taking in and disseminating, you know, without question, you know, which is how racism operates.
Yes.
You know, I was watching
Yes.
something about an ex-white supremacist coming to, you know, the realization that that wasn't the way. And he had his epiphany and he did a 180 and now he's about unite. Because he probably got a clear perspective on what was driving his behavior and made a decision. But you have to get that objectivity and you have to be willing to sacrifice your pride or your sense of security or whatever it is that makes you glued
Yes.
to this dysfunction
Yes.
because of what it's producing. And really look at it and see, is it really worth the investment? Because it is an investment. It's an investment of your creativity, of your energy, you know, you're empowering something.
Right.
So, yes. You know, I'm going there. I'm going there. But yeah, you know, and this is why I look at the human condition. And I know it has a purpose, like you said. We have to go through these things to learn.
Absolutely.
You know, but Earth, Wind, and Fire said, that old bush keeps on burning, but nobody seems to show they're learning.
This is the truth.
But maybe because now we're in a period where I think there's an increased awakening. People are starting to see differently.
That, and I will say technology has advanced the communication level. You know, people have more access to information very quickly and very instantaneously. You know, for example, Egypt, the students came together on Facebook. It was the younger generation that came together on Facebook and said, we need to get rid of this regime. And with that technology became a platform. Yes, in America, we overutilize it for frivolous things so that it becomes useless to us to some degree. But for other nations, other countries, they found a way to give it an ability for rebellion, for change, for progression, to take down things that are creating obstacles just because you're of this caste system, or you're this color, or you're this economic status, or you come from this village. You know, with the advent of technology, we have broken down the walls to say, let me like this, or let me put my comment here, let me show, you know, things that do trend. People will say, why is that trending? Why is this the popular conversation? What do I have? So it does open up conversation. We do see more of a struggle. I do see more now that, especially with like equal rights, like transgenderism has come out significantly. Back in the day, it was hush, hush, hush.
Taboo.
Exactly. You know, gay rights has taken on such a huge movement. You know, that now we're seeing at a rapid rate gay rights, gay marriages. You know, 20 years ago, it was like, AIDS was the epidemic, you know? But now it's different. So technology has done a great thing for that.
And thank God that it's being used to produce that, because it could be used to produce another. And it is being used in a way to produce the other side of the coin. But now, we could go on and on, and I know. But I would love for you to share with our audience this poem that you wrote called Teach, because I think it says everything that we want to say.
Not a problem.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Shafina Ahmed is going to grace you with her poem, Teach.
Don't fix it. Leave it broke. Put a bandage on it. It's only for poor folk. Starve them on welfare reform. Feed them vouchers of being misinformed. Sell peace and harmony on the black market. Poor people, they won't be able to afford it. Potholes as playgrounds, broken windows reflecting a community's poverty. We got money for war, but we won't feed the poor. Racism armed with machine gun fury. Ferguson pavements crying red with blood of the citizenry. Green fatigues directing peace to approved areas of assembly. Michael Brown fast asleep in the cemetery. Eric Garner wasn't a one-eyed Goliath. His Miranda rights choked illegally by NYPD profiling bigotry. Human rights suffocated to death on dirty concrete. On American streets, we are blindly murdering all of our humanity. 11th Street Bar, Manhattan, New York City, evicted South Asian fundraiser due to supposed overcapacity. We were artists, below occupancy, peacefully gathering. Let's be real, y'all. It was fear casting out Muslim hijabs and brown skins. Business hungry for dollar bills of alcohol consuming. Money doesn't buy back integrity. The color green maintaining the painted lines of social conformity. Love sold in pre-packaged doses to quiet the insanity. Greed bleaching out the apparent inequality. Like lambs to the slaughter, we are pulling ourselves down to the bottom of the barrel. Politicians cackling at us from their realms of upper elite division. Our cries for justice replaced by empty quarrel. The machine is raging against us. Blind justice generous, 1% wealthy chosen. The reward for us cattle is the Medicated Kool-Aid. It's keeping our minds stuck in frozen. Wake the fuck up, everyone. This ain't Kansas anymore. We are setting our yellow brick road on fire. Before our eyes, hell is freezing over. We are becoming a species of war incorporated. Terrorism is becoming all of our rhetoric. Even Satan is terrified of our state of demented. This insane world is making our kids sick. We are teaching them to become a generation of pathetic. When did we forget that we're friends to each other? When did we start justifying murder? When did we forget that killing each other is the same as killing each other's mother? When did we forget that killing each other is the same as killing your mother, your mother, your mother, my mother? People don't care about ceasefires? People seem more interested in their Facebook, Instagram, Twitter followers. We need to start looking up to see each other's eye color. If we don't, we will only be breeding our own disorder. Our souls aren't tradable commodities. Ignorance shouldn't be our sword of righteousness. Like Gandhiji said, be the change in the world you want to see. See beyond the color of physical appearance. Love? Love is what I choose to preach. I choose to be the evolution of peace. Create with my words a wave of harmonious speech. Effect change for all of our brilliance. Keep our children's dreams within safe reach. I ask, brothers and sisters, what will you teach?
Shafina, thank you so much for being my guest and sharing your light. It has been one blessing.
Oh, thank you so much.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Thank you.
And remember that information does impact what's information is your experience, and be empowered. Thank you for watching Around the Fire special presentation, State of Our Union. Until next time.
It's been said, the whole world is a stage, and everybody plays a part. But the question remains, who's writing the script?